morning. The aspect of the fruit of the Spirit that we're looking at today is one that's probably been the most challenging for me recently, and it's that of peace. Peace in my life has been tested recently, not uprooted, but most definitely shaken at times. So I just want to share with you some of what I'm learning and how I'm trying to cultivate peace in my life. I think the biggest enemy to peace is that of anxiety. And the best example I can think of peace in the midst of anxiety and turmoil is when Jesus was asleep in the boat in the midst of the storm. And ultimately Jesus was able to sleep through the storm because he had that internal peace that came from the assurance of knowing the Father and knowing the authority that he had. And Jesus said anything he did on earth we can do, and even greater. So we too can have that same internal peace that allows us to sleep through the midst of the storm. And we've got to remember that just because there's a storm doesn't mean Jesus is no longer with us. The presence of the storm doesn't mean the absence of Jesus. In fact, Psalm 46 verse 1 says that he is our very present help in times of trouble. But we really need to get to know the Jesus that's in the boat with us. We really need to cultivate an intimate relationship with him. The disciples had walked with him, talked with him, seen him do miracles. And yet when Jesus stood up and rebuked the storm, they said, "Who is this that even the wind and the waves obey him?" They didn't fully grasp who Jesus was or the authority he had. And so we really need to get to know Jesus, recognise the fact that he loves us, cares for us, jealously guards us, and also recognise the authority that he has over the storms and the authority he's given us over the storms. And we need to be quick to use the authority. Verse 37 of Mark 4 talks about there was already water getting into the boat. And so for me that means we've got to be really diligent against anything that threatens the peace in our lives. We've got to guard the peace within us. For me it's anxious thoughts. If an anxious thought comes, I've got to be very quick, very diligent to take authority over it in the name of Jesus. And then like Philippians 4 verse 6 says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything with prayer and petitions, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." I've got to be quick to turn to God in prayer when an anxious thought comes, to take authority over it in the name of Jesus and turn it into prayer. And just with thanksgiving, thanking God for the victory that we already have. And then verse 8 of Philippians 4 goes on to say, "Renew our minds by thinking on things pure, lovely, holy, and of a good report." And just as a side to finish off, there was other people that benefited when Jesus took authority over the storm. There was other boats on the sea, it tells us in the passage. And when Jesus took authority over the storm, there was a great calm, and they benefited from that great calm. So as we're cultivating peace in our lives, let's remember that it's not just for us and our family, but it'll have a huge impact on the atmosphere around us and those in our community. Amen.